Hello students, in this lecture I will be discussing with you about constant current bias, or rather constant current source of working of differential amplifier. So this is constant current bias. Now in the differential amplifiers I have discussed with you so far, we have seen the combination of RE, that means capital RE, and VEE, these two DC values are used to set up the DC emitter current IE, because we have initially considered the emitter biased circuit to form the differential configuration. In fact, we can also use constant current bias circuit to set up the DC emitter current, apart from setting up the emitter biased conditions. Now the constant current bias circuit is better in this case because it provides current stabilization and in turn assures a stable operating point for the differential amplifier. So the advantage of using constant current bias over other biasing types in case of differential amplifier is it provides better current stabilization and from there stable operating point or Q point. So that is important for the operation of BJTs. Now let us consider once again the dual input balanced output differential amplifier, on which this constant current bias idea will be implemented. So this was VCC and these two was RC. This is Q1, this is Q2. The input is V in 1 plus minus. This is R in 1, the source resistance for input 1. This is R in 2, source resistance for input 2, and this is V in 2. Now the dual input balanced input differential amplifier is something like this. Up to this it was okay, but using a resistive constant current bias we need to modify this portion of the circuit. That's why I have not drawn this portion of the circuit, which will be modified to introduce this constant current bias, and the modification will be just replacing the emitter resistance RE, that means just replacing with this value. We are introducing here an NPN BJT. Instead of a resistor we are using a BJT in this fashion, where at the base these two resistors are connected. This is R2 and another resistor, that is R1, and the emitter of this resistor is connected with this RE, and this base and emitter is internally connected or shorted, and this is connected with minus VEE, and the current that is flowing from collector through to the emitter is IC3, and this transistor is named as Q3, so its collector current is IC3 and its emitter voltage is VE3, denoted by VE3, and the voltage drop across R1 is plus minus in this way. The base voltage VB3 is noted over here, and there will be the opposite polarity current voltage drop across R2 is opposite, that means negative terminal of this resistance will be connected to the input of the base of transistor Q3. Now in this configuration, which is the modified form of the normal dual input balanced output differential amplifier, now here a resistive constant current bias is used. It should be noted that the resistor Re from the normal configuration is replaced by a constant current transistor Q3 in this circuit. So instead of placing Re here, the Re is over here, it is seen over here, and between this emitter shorted terminals of Q1 and Q2 and Re, there is a transistor placed which is Q3, and this is called the resistive constant current bias configuration. And the DC collector current in Q3 is established by the resistors R1, R2 and Re. So these are the biasing resistors R1, R2 and Re that will establish this current IC3 in the transistor Q3, and that can be this DC collector current can be determined. Now applying the voltage divider rule, the voltage at the base of the transistor Q3, neglecting the loading effect at the base, can be written as VB3 is the voltage, which is this one, the base voltage. This can be written as, using the potential divider circuit between R2 and R1. So you can see this VB3 is obviously the voltage across this potential divider circuit of R2 and R1. Now VB3 is measured with respect to this ground. So ground is connected over here. That means it is the voltage across R2 actually. So this VB3 should be derived from minus VE. So it should be minus VEE into R2 divided by R1 plus R2. But before that, R2 divided by R1 plus R2 and minus V. So this is VB3. Now what is VE3? That should also be calculated from here. VE3 is given by VB3 minus VBE3. So if we subtract the base emitter voltage from this base voltage, we should be getting VE3, the emitter voltage of transistor Q3. So if we now substitute VB3 from here into this equation, we may write VE3 is given by minus R2 VEE divided by R1 plus R2 minus VB3. So therefore IE3 can be found by, it is approximately equal to IC3, and IC3 is shown in the circuit. You can see this is IC3. So from here IE3 can be found, and that is the important for the DC emitter biasing, which is being provided with the help of constant current bias by placing a transistor Q3 in place of Re, which is normally there for a dual input balanced output differential amplifier configuration. So this IE3 can be found as VE3 minus of minus VEE divided by Re using simple Ohm's law. So in this, once again refer to the circuit, the IE3, that means the current that should be flowing through the emitter terminal in this direction, this is this should be IE3, and that IE3 is this voltage. This should be flowing from VE3 into minus VE. So the difference of voltage will be VE3 minus VE. So that is written divided by resistance RE. So that should be the IE3. So that means I once again repeat, IE3 is flowing from the the terminal VE3, from the emitter terminal, which is having voltage VE3 into minus VE towards this direction, top to bottom through RE. So the voltage difference through which, or the potential difference through which IE3 is flowing is VE3 minus VE, and that divided by RE, and that is written over here, and that divided by RE is the IE3. So therefore IC3 is given by this expression VEE, which is positive, minus we have found VE3 divided by RE. Now if we substitute in this place VEE minus VE3 we have found here as this expression. So this is something VEE. So this should be putting this value of VE3 from here into this expression. So we should be getting VE minus, taking this minus, R2 VEE divided by R1 plus R2 minus VBE3 divided by RE. So this is the expression for IC3. So now from here we can see that as because the two halves of the differential amplifier are symmetrical, the two input sides, so if and they are the mirror images, the two parts are the mirror images. So if we put a mirror over here, both the sides at either side of the mirror are symmetrical. So therefore each half has half of the current IC3. So if we consider this, if we once again have a closer look of this IC3, and if we put a mirror along this direction, so the left half will be symmetrical to the right half. That means this IC3 will be equally divided, because the Q1 side and Q2 side is well matched in all respects. So IC3 will be equally divided with respect to half of this current between Q1 and Q2. So therefore each has half of the current IC3, and so the IE1 for the left half for input 1 should be equal to IE2 for the right half with input 2, and that is approximately equal to IC3 divided by 2. So therefore the expression should be VEE minus R2 VEE divided by R1 plus R2 minus VBE3 is divided by 2 RE. So this is the expression for IE1 and IE2. Now the collector current IC3 in transistor Q3 is fixed and must be invariant, because no signal is injected into either the emitter or the base of Q3. So in this circuit what we are observing that neither from the base or from the emitter no signal is being applied to the transistor Q3. So as a result of that, the output current for this transistor IC3 will remain constant and it will be invariant. So therefore the transistor Q3 can be considered as a source of constant emitter current for transistors Q1 and Q2 of the differential amplifier. So that means if this IC3 is constant, because at the input of the Q3 no alternating signal is being applied, so the DC condition or the output current for IC3 for Q3, which is IC3, is constant, and if IC3 is constant, IE1 and IE2 is also constant or fixed. So that means The transistor Q3 here may be termed as a source of constant emitter current. So the constant emitter current that is required for the fixed emitter biasing of transistors Q1 and Q2 is provided by the transistor Q3. So that's why this Q3 is called a source of constant emitter current. Now in the analysis of differential amplifier circuits, we have seen with emitter bias that we considered RE, capital RE, far greater than small re. We had considered this one. Now, besides supplying constant emitter current, the constant current bias also provides a very high source resistance, since the AC equivalent of the DC current source is ideally an open circuit. So because of open circuit, you know that the source resistance or the resistance is very high, ideally infinite. So if we consider the AC equivalent of a DC current source is an open circuit, then while doing the AC analysis of this particular circuit, if we consider that this Q3 is actually a current source which is supplying a constant emitter current to Q1 and Q2, so therefore when we will be going for the AC analysis of this circuit, then this Q3 will be considered as an open circuit. So this will be, since this is a DC current source, so this will be considered as an open circuit. So therefore this constant current bias by the Q3 will not only provide the constant emitter current to Q1 and Q2, but also it will be providing very high source resistance, because this Q3 will be acting as a constant current source with very high source resistance in case of AC analysis. So therefore all the performance equations obtained for the differential amplifier cases as earlier, if we use this constant current bias instead of using Q3, instead of using a resistance, simple resistance RE, for both the cases we will see that all those equations which were derived considering the emitter biasing with only a resistor RE present in the emitter circuit of Q1 and Q2, the performance equations derived from that configuration are also applicable to this differential amplifier with constant current bias. So we can say, irrespective of the bias which is being used for this dual inputs balanced output configuration, whether it is emitter bias or a constant current bias, all the performance equation of voltage gain, input resistance and output resistance will be same. The expressions will remain same. Now if we want to improve the thermal stability further of this constant current transistor Q3, the resistance R is replaced by two diodes D1 and D2, as I am drawing the figure, the circuit diagram. This was Q3. So this will go towards the junction of Q1 and Q2 emitters, junction of Q1 and Q2 emitters. This is only the section which is the constant current source using Q3, constant current source using Q3, only that portion is selected for analysis to increase the how to increase the thermal stability. And this is VB3, this is V3 VE3, and this point is VB3, and this is the resistance of RE, and IE3 is going, emitter current is going through RE. This is connected to minus VE, and I2 is the current through this, and this resistance is R2. Now removing the resistance which was connected in this, which was R1, two series connected diodes D1 and D2, normal diodes, ordinary diodes are connected, and this IB3 is flowing into this, and therefore we will see how that with the connection of these two diodes in series will increase the thermal stability of transistor Q3. The base of Q3 is biased with the voltage divider containing components R2, but R1 is not there. Instead of R1, two diodes D1 and D2 are used. So for DC biasing, D1, D2 and R2 will and minus VE will be used to DC bias this or to fix the Q point of this transistor Q3. So diodes D1 and D2 will help to hold the emitter current IE3 constant even though the temperature changes. Now let's see how that happens. So what is concluded here, that this IE3 will be a constant value if temperature is changing. This D1 and D2 will compensate for that temperature changes, and it will not allow IE3 to vary. Now let us see how that happens. Note that in this case I2 flows to the node at the base of Q3 and then divides into ID and IB3, and ID is following this path through the diodes. This I2, from I2 at this node, one part is flowing through ID through the two diodes as ID, and another is IB3 into the base of the Q3. If the temperature of Q3 increases, its base emitter voltage VBE3 decreases. We have seen from the thermal runaway concept and the stability factor concept that the temperature change will affect VBE, beta and ICO, these three parameters of any transistor. So if temperature changes, then this VBE3 will be changed and that it will be decreased, the base emitter voltage, if the temperature is increased. And this reduced VBE3 will tend to raise the voltage drop across RE. So if this is reduced, that means to make up for this reduction, the voltage drop across this RE for the conduction by the which is happening to be there for the conduction of current IE3 through RE will be increased because around this loop the voltage will be the VBE plus IE3 RE will be constant. So if VBE is decreased, IE3 RE, that means the voltage drop across this RE should be increased to make the overall voltage inside this loop constant. So therefore the reduced VBE3 will try to increase the voltage across RE because of the current flow IE3 through it, but the voltage drops across D1 and D2 also decrease because this D1 and D2 will be more and more conductive, and therefore the barrier potential of these two diodes will be affected, and as a result of that, more major portion of I2 will flow in terms of ID through these diodes, and so it will cause ID to increase. That means diode current will increase, and in that case if diode current is increased, that means the base current into the Q3 will be decreased because the relation between these three currents I2 is equal to ID plus IB3. So if this happens to be so that temperature is increased, the barrier potential will be changed in such a manner that the diodes D1, D2 will become more conductive, so ID will increase, and thereby if ID will increase from the I2, it will take the major portion of current to be passed through this D1 and D2 to go inside this minus VE, and therefore as a result of that, if ID is increased, that means IB3 is decreased, so the current into the base of the transistor Q3 will be decreased, and it will prevent any significant increase in IE3. So if this current into the base of the transistor Q3 is decreased, so therefore this IE3 will not be allowed to increase further, because we know this IE3 is the combination of currents or summation of currents IB3 and IC3. IC3 is flowing in this direction. Now we know IC3 plus IB3 is equal to IE3. Now if IB3 is decreased, that means IE3 will not be increased so much. So we can say if this IE3 is not be increased so much, so the drop across this RE will not be increased so much, and thereby the potential drop across this RE will remain constant. So almost the bias for the Q3 at its emitter terminal will try to remain constant, and thereby ensuring the temperature stability of this current source Q3 through the use of via the use of these two diodes D1 and D2. Now the emitter current IE3 can be determined from this circuit, assuming that the voltage drop across the diodes is equal and denoting it by Vd. If Vd is the voltage drop across diodes, then the voltage at the base of the transistor, voltage at base of Q3 transistor should be written as VB3, that is the base voltage. That means this node voltage, which is this one VB3, this voltage is given by minus VEE plus 2 VD, because this node voltage is voltage across these two diodes and this minus V. So minus VE plus these two voltage is equal to the base voltage. So minus V plus 2 VD, because each the diode is producing VD as the voltage drop. And also we can write VE3 is equal to VB3 minus VB3. Very simple equation. So this is, if we substitute VB3 from this equation into this equation, so VE3 should be written as minus VEE plus 2 VD minus VB3. So therefore IE3 can be written as VE3 minus VEE, using this portion, this IE3 is this voltage, it is flowing from V3 to minus VE, so the potential difference will be V3 minus of minus V divided by this RE, that is IE3 divided by RE. So this is nothing but VEE plus VE3 divided by RE. So if we now substitute the VE3 into this, IE3 should be found like this. VEE should be put over here. So what is that? IE3, it is VE, and VE3 is found as is this one minus VEE plus 2 VD minus VB3 divided by RE. Now minus V will cancel out, so therefore IE3 is 2 VD minus VB3 divided by RE. Now assuming that the transistor Q3 has the same characteristics as diodes D1 and D2, that means in terms of its VB should be constant or should be the same for both. So that is, if the diode drop or the barrier potential drop, that is VD, is, so if VD is equal to VB3, that is the equal to the same property, these diodes should be having the same property of the base emitter junction diode for this transistor. So in that case we can say that VD is equal to VB3. So if this happens to be so, so therefore IE3, considering this, IE3 should be written as VD by RE. Okay, so that means the emitter current, the DC emitter current for this constant current source using Q3 is dependent on the diode drop, which is VD, individual diode drop, and the DC emitter resistance. So for a given value of RE, the emitter current depends on the voltage drop across the diodes, we can say, but the voltage drop across the diodes is a function of current ID through them. That means the diode current. So however, the current ID is a part of current I2, that means which is flowing from the ground into the base terminal in this direction from left to right through R2. So the part of this I2 is the diode current ID, which is determined by the value of R2. So whatever should be the value of R2 is important how much will be the diode current ID, because ID is a part of this I2 which is flowing through R2. So therefore it means that we can change the value of IE3 by varying either R2 or RE. So in other we can say that this IE3 will be dependent on ID as well as, because if it is dependent on VD, that means it will depend on ID, and in turn it will depend on I2. And if it is dependent on I2, that means I2 is flowing through R2. The value of I2 will be dependent on R2. So whatever should be the value we calculate for IE3, the dependence will be always on VD, RE and R2 values. On these three values, the DC emitter current IE3 will depend for transistor Q3. Now, if we want to design a constant current bias circuit, we will do the following step. We should be considering certain specific values for these three parameters to get a fixed desired IE3 value, and assuming that the diode voltage drop is 0.7 volt, we can determine the value of RE using this equation. If we have this value in our hand and VD is 0.7 volt, we can calculate the RE to design this constant current bias circuit. Now assuming that I2 equal to IE3, if we consider this IE3 is equal to the whole of I2 and VD1, VD2 are same and both is 0.7 volt, that means they are silicon diodes. So from simple equation using this one, IE3, which is known, RE is known from here, and VEE should be given for differential amplifier, we can calculate VE3 from there. So therefore using this equation also and the equation to find R2 can be calculated, this R2 can be calculated by VEE minus VBE divided by IE3. So R2 can be calculated as VEE for design purpose of this constant current bias circuit, VEE minus 2 VBE divided by IE3. So we can say that this IE3 is dependent on VD, RE and R2. So in this way we can find, considering VD as 0.7 volt, so we can find from here. So if we have IE3 in our chosen value or desired value and VD is considered as 0.7 volt, so we need to find from there with the help of this equation the value of RE, and another using another equation we need to find the value of R2, which is this equation. R2 can be found by VEE minus 2 VD, that is the 2 voltage drop which will be giving the voltage at this point, which is VB3, and VB3 minus 0 divided by R2 is I2, So from here we can say that if I2 is considered to be equal to the I3, then therefore using this equation VEE minus 2VD divided by I3, that will be giving us the value of R2. So once we are having these values R2, RE and VD in our hand, we can easily design the constant current bias circuit for dual input balanced output differential amplifier. Now often in case of this thermal stability, a Zener diode can be used in place of the two diodes which we have shown so far. Instead of using two different diodes, a single Zener diodes can be added to the circuit, and the circuit should be look like this. So the circuit remains the same, only the two diodes is replaced by a single Zener diode of Zener voltage Vz and Zener current is Iz, you can say, and it will do the same thing in terms of the stability of the circuit of this Q3 thermal stability. It will provide the thermal stability to Q3, the use of these diodes. Now Zener diodes are available over a wide range of voltages and can have a matching temperature coefficient of voltage to those of the transistors which is required for the thermal stability for Q3. And if we consider this circuit, the voltage of the base of the transistor, that is at the transistor which is VB3, the VB3 can be written as, in this case, minus VEE plus Vz based on the polarity. If we consider this path, there is one voltage minus V and another is Vz, which is opposite in polarity. So this is minus V plus Vz, that is VB3. These two voltages should be added up to be provided at the input of the base of Q3. Then the voltage at the emitter will be VE3, and that is given by minus VEE. That means this voltage through this path, now it is measured through this path, minus VE plus Vz minus VBE3. Now through this path, this VE3 should be gone over this direction. So the direction of movement is the same. For VB3 it is this voltage plus this voltage across this Zener. So here also this voltage plus the voltage across this Zener along with the voltage across this base emitter junction, which is VBE3, and that should be negative. Why? Because of the polarity concerned. We are moving in the opposite direction of this current, so VBE3 should be negative. So therefore the current IE3 can be calculated like this: VE3 minus of minus VEE, considering this path, divided by this resistance RE, that is IE3. Now put VE3 from this equation over this, so therefore IE3 can be written as minus VEE plus Vz minus VBE3 plus VE, so VE cancels out, divided by RE. So therefore IE3 is nothing but Vz minus VBE3 divided by RE. Now the value of R2 should be so selected that I2 is having some relation with the minimum current required to cause the Zener diode to conduct in the reverse region, and because otherwise there will be no current Iz through this circuit, and the desired thermal stability will not be achieved. So therefore there must be some relation between I2 and the minimum current required to for the Zener diode to conduct in the reverse region. The value of this minimum Zener current can be found based on the data sheet we should be having for design purpose, and thus the value of R2 can be calculated using this expression R2 equal to VEE minus Vz divided by I2. From this expression, R2 is given by voltage by current. Current is I2 and the voltage across it is VEE minus Vz. This is VEE minus this Vz, that is the node voltage over here. So this with respect to ground divided by this current will be giving you R2. So from here we can say the Zener diode is useful for maintaining a constant base voltage, because we know that the Zener diode works based on a Zener breakdown voltage which is constant, and therefore it is used for providing voltage regulation to produce a constant voltage across any device or any terminals, so any two terminals. So that's therefore to maintain constant voltage across this terminal VB3 and this common point Vz is there. So for Zener diode is useful because of that, as it is maintaining the constant base voltage across this base emitter junction, in turn the constant emitter current in a constant current bias circuit. So as a result, because of this Vz which will be constant, it will be allow the emitter current to be made constant in this current bias circuit. So this is all about the discussion regarding constant current bias circuit for differential amplifier. Now let us move on to the next circuit, which is current mirror. This is another application of or another concept regarding the study on differential amplifiers. The circuit in which the output current is, it is such a circuit in which the output current is forced to equal the input current, that is called the current mirror circuit. That means it is such a circuit where the output current and input current is forced to be made equal. Forcefully they are made they should be made equal. So in a current mirror circuit, the output current is mirror image of the input current. So output current is mirror image and thereby equal with input current. So this is the speciality of using current mirror circuit. So in a current mirror circuit, let us see the block diagram and the circuit of the current mirror respectively. The block diagram is something like this, very simple. If this is the block of current mirror circuit and input current is Is, suppose, or rather we should be writing I source, and the input through the other end, input through one terminal is or one port rather is, suppose input current is denoted by I source, and through the other port if it is I sink, then if it is a current mirror circuit, I source should be equal to I sink. Okay, now let us see the diagram for the current mirror circuit. So here you can see that this like the previous circuit for constant current bias, it is a little bit more, far more added with that particular circuit. So this is the Q3 which we are replacing the RE to get the constant current bias, which is connected in this direction to the junction of Q1 Q2 emitters, and the collector current of it is IC3, which is equal to I2 suppose, given by this, and IB3 is its base current, and with the base of this Q3 another transistor is connected to its base. That means the base of the two is shorted, and also the collector of these two transistor, the collector from the another transistor Q4 is connected to the base of it. So its base and collector is both connected through the same path to be fed to the base of the Q3, and the collector current is IC4 for this Q4, and base current is IB4, and this is the base voltage VB3 for this Q3 transistor. Now we can see here that this I2 which is flowing through R2, and after passing through this node it is becoming I, and this I2 is once again is seen to be equal to the collector current of Q3. Now let us see how it happens to be so. Now once the current I2 is set up in this circuit, this is important for this case. This is important for the circuit to work to set up the I2 first. Now once it is set up, the current IC3 is automatically established to be nearly equal to I2, so that this relation holds. So this is the important relation for this circuit to work. That means we need to set up this current I2, and as a result automatically this I2 should be equal to the collector current or the output current of this transistor Q3, and that Q3 is to be forwarded to the main part of the differential amplifier through this direction to the emitters of Q1 and Q2, which are shorted, which are connected to each other. So the current meter is a special case of constant current bias circuit, where this portion is nothing but the constant current bias circuit we have seen earlier. Now with this portion here, another transistor stage is added, which is Q4, and therefore we can say since it is a current meter is a special case of constant current bias, and therefore can be used to set up constant emitter currents for differential amplifier stages also with the help of this current meter circuit. Now it should be noted here that the current meter circuit requires very few components than constant current bias circuits because of its simplicity and ease of fabrication and design. The current meter circuit is most commonly used in IC amplifiers such as differential and operational amplifiers, so it is quite widely used than other constant current bias circuits. Now it is to be remembered that for the proper operation of the circuit, it is necessary to construct a current mirror using maybe a transistor array, that means a series of transistors in which a diode is needed to be used by using an in which a needed diode is formed by using an adjacent transistor. So the speciality of this circuit is that this Q4 is actually not a transistor, it is acting like a diode here, and this Q3 and Q4 to be connected with each other, as being connected with each other, it is actually called the transistor array. So since the base and collector of this transistor is interconnected, that means one junction is not existing for this particular transistor. So therefore this transistor Q4 is actually working like a diode. So what we have seen in case of constant current bias circuit, there was two back-to-back ordinary diodes or a Zener diode. So we are just replacing with those diodes with a transistor acting like a diode because its base and collector terminals are shorted. Base is shorted with the collector. So we are actually doing the same thing what we were doing in case of a normal constant current bias. At that time we were using the simple diodes, but here instead of using the diodes we are using a transistor in the form of a diode. So actually we are doing logically the same thing, but the circuital connection are little bit different. Now when used in this way, the transistor array helps to achieve the required collector current and thermal stability both in via the current mirror circuit. So since the Q3 and Q4 are identical transistors here, their base emitter voltages must be same and their base collector currents must also be approximately equal in this case. So for this Q3 and Q4, what we should write? We should write VBE3 is equal to VBE4, IC3 is equal to IC4, and IB3 is equal to IB4. They are well matched. Now the summing currents at node VB3, this is the node VB3. Here what we are seeing that I2 is equal to I plus IC4. So we can write at node having voltage VB3, I2 is equal to IC4 plus I, as it is observed as per the direction of these three currents. So this can be written as IC4 plus 2IB4, as because this I is nothing but 2 into IB4, because IB4 is this I is distributed in terms of IB3 in this IB3 in this direction and IB4 in this direction. Now since IB3 and IB4 is same, basically we have written over here, so we can write I as 2IB4. So now IC4 is equal to IC3, so we can write IC4 instead of IC4. This is IC3 plus 2 IB4 is equal to IB3. So IC3 plus 2 IB3, that is I2. So now this can be written also as IC3 plus 2 into what is IB3? It is IC3 divided by beta DC. Okay, so therefore we can write from here I2 is equal to IC3 taken as common 1 plus 2 by beta DC. So this is the relation between the setting up of I2 from this point to be made equal to the collector current of Q3, which will be supplied to the junction of Q1 and Q2 emitters. So this was our initial intention, that is by setting up for the use of this current mirror circuit, our intention was by setting up I2 we should be moving closer to get it equal to IC3. So therefore in this way we can find there is a relation between I2 and IC3 in this particular form of equations. So generally if we analyze this equation, beta DC is large enough, as we know that beta DC beta is having a very large value. So 2 by beta DC will be very negligibly small. So therefore we can say, since 2 by beta DC is very small, so we can neglect with respect to 1. So therefore from here we can write I2 is approximately equal to IC3. So we can say the current I2 is obtained by writing the this I2 can be obtained also using the KVL for the base emitter loop of the transistor Q3. If we write that, that means it is minus R2I2 minus VBE3, that is the input using KVL at the input loop of Q3, minus VBE3 plus VEE is equal to 0. We can find once again, this is VBE3 and this is VEE minus VEE and minus R2I2. This is R2R2. So considering this, one is this one, another is this one. If we just not visualize this middle part, that means the division of I2, if it is ignored, then this I2 making a drop across this R2, that is R2 I2, with considering with the polarities, that is minus I2 R2 minus VBE3, that is going into this. So we just stopping this middle portion. So potential, this potential drop plus total this drop plus total going into this minus VE should be equal to 0 using this KVL equation at the base emitter loop of Q3. Now if we rearrange this equation to find I2, this should be VEE minus VBE3 divided by R2. Now if we use this equation, an appropriate value of R2, by choosing appropriate value of R2 to set up a desired value of collector current in the current meter circuit can be done. And for satisfactory operation of the circuit, two identical transistors are necessary, because if the transistors are not properly matched, the Q3 and Q4, this whole explanation will not stay valid. That means this whole concept which we have derived just now will not work at all if the transistors Q3 and Q4 are not identically matched. So we can say, by proper choosing of these values, that means R2, because VE and VBE will be given and known to us. So by proper choice of R2, we can find the value of I2, and once in this circuit the I2 is set up at proper value, that should be gradually made equal to the value of collector current of Q3. So once IC3 is equal to I2, we can say that this circuit will be working as a current mirror circuit. That means if we put a mirror along this direction, whatever is happening at the left side is equal to or a mirror image to whatever is happening at the right side. That means whatever is happening at the left side of Q4 is similar or identical to whatever is happening at the right side of Q3. So that's why this I2 should be equal to the output current of Q3, and I2 is set up from this stage, which is going into the Q4 first and gradually moving towards Q3 to be made equal to its output current IC3. So thereby we can say that these two stages, at the either side of this mirror, is constant or same or identical. That's why this circuit is called current mirror circuit, and it is used along with the constant current bias circuit for setting up the DC emitter biasing, or constant current biasing rather, for differential amplifier operation. So that's all we have from this current mirror circuit to be discussed. Thank you.